welcome back to another Freeday Friday. Got another 5 days lined up. 5 days? 5 games lined up, per usual. Here's to all 5 of them being playable, compared to last week, which is a little bit of a travesty. But my god, that sounds loud. Something I was just in the process of setting up was a new channel for the this game distracting now for the Discord, obviously link below. So people could suggest games. Well, that's been set up. I was about to set up another one for waiting music, so I feel like I keep falling on the same ones. So you know, on the RPG Wednesdays, I'm constantly playing the Mother 1 soundtrack, which is like I think it's like an 80s like rendition of it. Look up Mother 1 OST 80s, then it should come up. Anyway, obviously just then I was playing some. I think it was like it's advertised as it's like chill vibe music for Twitch. It's got like this vaporwave. I don't know, like this 80s style background thing. Which there's actually a few wallpapers on the PlayStation 4 marketplace, like themes or whatever, which are of the same style. I've got that on my PS4, which is something I'm gonna get back to in a second. And obviously for Sunday stream, I've been using the Fallout 1 soundtrack, but I always start with that song by the Ink Spots, maybe, which is a great song. And then for the for the Pokemon streams, I play a playlist I put together, where it's the soundtrack for each like game in the series, like the mainline games, but it's only the anime renditions of those songs, which you'd be surprised to know that, well, maybe surprised that some of those songs actually took a long time to get a rendition in the first place. A lot of them got made in the Pokemon Origins and Generations shows. Unfortunately, I haven't found one for. Okay, I did find one for Gary's theme from Pokemon Blue, which I'm sure a lot of people have noticed sounds kind of shitty because it's a rendition of it. Because, to my knowledge, the original has not been released to the public, so violence sound very bad on that. Anyway, back to PS4. I did try something the other day, and I didn't end up streaming it because it was pretty conclusive it wasn't going to work. I was trying to find a way that I could stream my PS4 onto stream the PS4 so I could use it with OBS without a capture card. This was using the Remote Play app, which in theory it would work, but I guess the connection was just way too shitty, so I couldn't follow up on that, unfortunately. Like it was breaking up like a bitch. It looked like one of those FNAF analog horror videos, if it were recorded with a digital camera instead of like a VHS film camera. So you had like the bright colored artifacting constantly. Anyway, so that didn't go well, and it means I'm back to square one, or plan B, I guess, which is just shell outs on a capture card one day, once I figure out exactly what kind of capture card I need, and hoping I don't need to upgrade or replace my PC to do so. Anyway, enough rambling. We've got 5 excellently named games. We have Depression Quest, Epigenesis, Fist of Awesome. I'm actually kind of looking forward to that one. Only If, and Orbital Gear, which I rather like the names of. Fist of Awesome and Depression Quest are funny, if not ironically funny. And Epigenesis, Only If, and Orbital Gear sound pretty good, actually. I'm looking forward to playing those. Anyway, so first game, Depression Quest, August 2014, developed by Patrick Lindsay, Isaac Shankler, and developed and published by the Quinspiracy. Not sure what the fuck it's supposed to mean. Mixed reviews. Depression Quest is an interactive fiction game where you play someone living with depression. This feels like it's pretty self-explanatory so far. You're given a series of everyday life events and have to attempt to manage your illness, relationships, job, and possible treatment. Rip-roaring fun, but I see it more as like a... Can I just full screen this? Oh, beautiful. That's... Wait. Pushing Quest. Interactive non-fiction with about living with depression by Zoe Quinn. I guess that's who does Conspiracy. Its emotional character is probably mostly indescribable, except as a sort of double bind in which any/all of the alternatives we associate with human agency, sitting or standing, doing or resting, speaking or keeping silence, living or dying, are not just unpleasant but literally horrible. David Foster Wallace. No clue who that is. Depression Quest is a... How do I... Okay, it's not a lot to you. Depression Quest is a game that deals with living with depression in a very literal way. This game is not meant to be fun or light-hearted experience. I'm in the wrong room then. Let's see how far we give this. Anyway, no one's got mixed reviews, but I'm curious where this goes. If you're currently suffering from the illness and are easily triggered, please be aware that this game uses stark depictions of people in very dark places. If you're suicidal, please stop playing the game and visit the suicide prevention hotline to talk to someone. I am not, thank God, but anyone who is... Okay, I shouldn't Google. Anyone who is like susceptible, yeah, do that. I wouldn't recommend that you keep watching this. Nice as it is that you'd like to stick around, just either skip ahead. In fact, actually, right this moment, I am gonna write a note saying that I'm gonna leave a marker if I can on YouTube. Because I think somehow that's a milestone achievement, being allowed to use markers. You can skip ahead to the next game, Epigenesis. Okay. Anyway, without further ado, actually, I think I could put like little info cards in the corner when I get there. Anyway, okay. So the goal of this game is twofold. First, we want to illustrate as clearly as possible what depression is like, so that it may be better understood by people without depression. Hopefully this can be something to spread awareness and fight against the social stigma and misunderstandings that depression sufferers face. Secondly, our hope is that in presenting as a real simulation of depression as possible, other sufferers will come to know that they aren't alone, and hopefully derive some measure of comfort from that. Loving this music, by the way. It goes without saying that because of the very nature of depression, it is experienced differently by every person who suffers from it. We aren't trying to say that this is the best or most accurate representation, merely that this is an amalgamation of the experiences of the developers and several people close to them. Many of the following encounters deal with issues such as therapy, medication, handling a love life, and reaching out to support networks. In reality, less than half of depression sufferers actually seek treatment for reasons such as lack of money, perceived personal failing, or public stigma. These things were included in order to touch upon as broad a range as possible, since all these elements can be very important to sufferers of depression, though they will likely not be the experiences of most sufferers. It's most important to recognize that not everyone with depression is so lucky. Many people with the illness don't have a lot of luxuries that we have in this game. We've written it this way so that we can focus specifically on the illness, which becomes more and more difficult to deal with as the person who has it is less and less well off. This game uses audio as part of the play experience. We encourage you to play with your sound on. Thank you for playing. Let's view controls first. So Scroll page up and down. Tab, select next option. Shift and tab, select previous option. Isn't that how you open the Steam thing? Enter, confirm action, backspace, rewind passage, and shift backspace, advanced passage. That's plug in control and press A to enable. I wonder, hang on, I've got my NES controller here. Nope. Okay, A button. Wait, was that A or was that B? Alright, doesn't matter. It's not working. You may use a pointing device, keyboard, or WebKit compatible gamepad to play. I'm gonna assume that I can just use the mouse the whole time, but yeah, up and down for the scroll. Select an options tab. Select push. Yeah, okay. Confirm action. Rewind passage. Okay. Wait. Example option 1. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Do I do that? No. There we go. Okay. I did his as short though, so who knows? Probably end up finishing this. Oh, show menu ask. Hang on. Do I? Your controls enable full screen, disable sound, restart game, exit game. Okay. Alright. So. It is early on a Monday morning. You are a mid-20s human being. You have a significant other named Alex, who you are rather fond of, that you have been seeing excessively for the past few months. The rest of your social circle consists of a variety of friends and acquaintances, some of whom you met at your day job, which is a little boring, but pays the rent. You'd like to be doing more with your life, as with your parents, but you're still in the process of figuring out what that means and how to go about it. You're also dealing with motivation issues that sometimes makes dealing with these things difficult. You feel like this is probably your fault, and on bad days can feel inwardly angry and down on yourself for being lazy. But you're not quite sure how you can break out of it, or how other people deal with these feelings and seem so very functional. Spend a lot of nights fixating on things about this. Fixating on thinking about this, but never seem to do anything about it other than lose sleep. Who's Alex? I met Alex through a mutual friend a few months back. The two of you hit it off pretty well that first night, and after a series of initially awkward dates, you finally became a couple, much to your surprise and excitement. Alex is 3 months younger than you are, and is currently a student with a part-time job, and a broad social circle. She's also got a wide variety of interests, and oftentimes you worry that you might be too boring for her. But she has been good at trying to reassure you that she's happy with you. Your relationship consists of a lot of nights in watching Netflix, when you've both got time off work and she doesn't have classes. The occasional social outing that she tends to have to talk you into attending. She tries to be understanding when you are in one of your moods, as she puts it, though you are starting to feel like she doesn't understand what it's like for you, and there's a sort of tension in your relationship. Coupled with your reluctance to want to go to college parties, this feeds your worry of not being exciting enough for them. Social circle. And oh god, this is a big one. Your social circle is made up of a few close friends, some of which you've known from high school, and some from jobs that you've worked. You've also made various acquaintances through reluctantly going to social events with Alex, and you keep in touch with a few friends of friends that you occasionally run into. You also have several online friends that you talk to regularly, that you feel less guarded and possibly due to communicating from the safety of being behind the keyboard. You enjoy the low commitment of the friendships, since they don't expect very much of you other than to listen and share personal thoughts and experiences. Despite the low commitment, you feel fairly connected with these people, and tend to be more honest with them than people you interact with in real life on a day-to-day basis. You feel incredibly nervous trying to make new friends of your own, and you are very good at talking yourself out of going to unfamiliar places or larger social engagements, regardless of how much you may actually want to attend. Meeting new people stresses you out to a high degree, and is something you wish you could work past. You admit you have a bad habit of flaking on social engagements, even with longtime friends, and are puzzled as to why some days you just can't force yourself to go see these people that you really do care about. Those that have stuck around long enough to be that close with you understand that this is a thing you sometimes do, and have seemed to more or less accept it, even God, I lost myself. Hang on. Those have seemed to more or less accept it, even though they chide you for its own occasion. Actually, I don't know that one. However, you've had friends in the past give up trying to maintain a friendship with you because of this trait, taking your social anxieties as a personal plight, or eventually getting tired of trying to track you down all the time. You feel incredibly guilty about this, but are not quite sure how to change. Day job. You have a day job which you feel is really nothing special. You start out receiving minimum wage, but have stayed around long enough to be making enough money to support yourself. The work is dull and unrewarding, and most days you feel like just about anyone could do it. You have a hard time relating to most of your co-workers, so you mostly keep to yourself and gets the work done while you're there. There are one or two people you chat with, though you wouldn't consider yourself close with them. A lot of days lately, you have a really hard time getting out of bed and forcing yourself to go in. You're starting to wonder how long you can keep this up. You'd really like to find another job in your field of interest, but feel like you are underqualified every time you look at online job postings. Sometimes you think about going back to school, but you would be unsure how you would be able to support yourself, and wonder if the degree would really help anyone. As would your parents. You're one of the few people you know of whose parents never got divorced, but you do wonder if they still love each other sometimes. You have an older brother named Malcolm, who has moved across the country with his wife to work a high-paying job. Every major holiday that you see him at, you feel a bit jealous and like the lesser kids despite being genuinely happy to see him. You feel very ashamed of these feelings. Your parents genuinely care about you. This often involves inviting you back to your childhood home for dinner, though your mother thinks you never visit quite enough, and you get the impression they don't fully understand you. They want to see you succeed, and don't know why you haven't gone farther in life yet because you're so smart and talented. Anytime you've tried to talk to them about your motivation issues, they tell you that the solution is simply to work harder, or want it more. Your father's generally more forgiving of your lack of a career path, while your mother seems to think you're too smart to be in the position you're in. You know they love you, and that they're not bad people, but you really feel like a big disappointment sometimes. Fuck, this got very real. Don't mind saying very quickly though, this is exactly what I was walking into. I just realised this is slightly animated. It's It's an unseasonably warm Wednesday evening. We spent the past several hours at work. The past week or so, you found your job motivation flagging more so than usual. You've been in a fog practically all day today, simply going through the motions without realizing even what you've been doing half the time. And yet, time seems to be moving at half speed. You're so checked out that when your boss approaches you to tell you that it's dead, and you can go home early, it barely registers. As you walk home, the streets hiss from the recent rainfall. You know that your significant other will be in classes until late, another couple hours at least. You briefly consider using this serendipitous solitude to catch up on that project you've been working on haphazardly for the past few months. As soon as you think about the work that awaits you at home, you feel the panic creeping in from the back of your brain, unbidden. All you can think about is how incredibly far behind you are, and the amount of work seems nothing less than insurmountable. By the time you arrive home and change out of your uncomfortable work clothes. The stress is weighing down on you like a heavy, wet wool blanket. Your computer seems to be staring you down from your desk. You want to sit down and work, but the mere thought of trying to work sends your stress levels flying. More than anything, you feel suddenly and absolutely exhausted, and feel a strong desire to simply hide in bed. Do you? And what's the project? A while back, you and some of your older friends were out at a bar catching up, after liquefying considerably more of your paycheck than was perhaps responsible, and ending up thoroughly in your cups. You open up to the only people you really consider yourself close to, and end up launching into a drunken tirade about the meaninglessness of your utterly menial job, and ultimately your own existence. Having never really seen you in such a state before, your friends were briefly taken aback by your sudden uncharacteristic outburst. One of your friends suggested you get involved with your hobby on a more regular long-term basis, suggesting that spending your time on something you actually care about might help. Might help you to better cope with your shittiness of your 9 to 5. I think that might have been the first swear in the whole thing. Although you were embarrassed that you let your guards down, and you felt self-conscious and seeming to have single-handedly brought the mood down at the table, you convinced yourself on the cab ride home that maybe it would be worth trying out. You began your project some months ago, and have, miraculously, managed to keep at it, though your level of motivation and subsequent effort rises and falls considerably. While you were surprised when you started at how good it felt to actually work on something you were passionate about, lately you found it hard to muster the energy to really care about even this. What do I do? Want some food, grab a drink, hunker down. You are depressed. Interaction is exhausting, and you are becoming more and more withdrawn. You are not currently seeing a therapist. You are not currently taking medication for depression. So my options are not order some food, grab a drink, and hunker down for a night of work. But reluctantly sit down at your desk and try and make yourself do something. Turn on the TV, telling yourself you can just. I thought I had a noise for a moment. Sorry. Turn on TV, telling yourself you just need a quick half hour to unwind from work. Crawl into bed, so stressed and overwhelmed that you couldn't possibly accomplish anything anyways. I think I might choose option 2, because if I need to recover, then make myself do more work or wallow in this awful feeling. I don't think that's going to work as much. Probably turn on TV might be the best option. And oh shit, it's the old logo. Sorry, yeah, this was 2014. Just a half hour of TV, you tell yourself, absently grasping for the remote. You don't so much sit down on the couch as sink into it. You turn on the TV and start going through your usual channel routine. After a few cycles of this, you realize that you're really not doing much more than dumb calisthenics, and absently killing time. You check the clock and see that over 20 minutes have already passed since you sat down. Okay, that's I should have seen that one coming. As your self-imposed time limit creeps ever nearer, you become more and more anxious. You stand up and walk to the fridge, telling yourself, I'll just make a quick sandwich and get to work after that. Can't be productive on an empty stomach, right? As you eat, you start pacing around your apartment, heading past your bedroom in the process. You stop in the doorway, as if physically unable to cross the threshold. Familiar waves of exhaustion start racking you, and you feel simultaneously tired and panicked. You close the door and head back to the couch. It's still early yet, you tell yourself. As long as I get to work in an hour, I'll have plenty of time to be productive. as you flip channels and let the CSI and Jeopardy reruns wash over you. You sink deeper into the couch, feeling at once encroached upon and shielded by being quite literally spoiled up by it. As the second hour draws nearer, sure enough, you find yourself getting anxious and jittery. You repeat the fridge pace couch process a couple more times before you look at the clock and realize that several hours have passed, and not surprisingly, you've managed to get no work done. You crawl into bed, acutely aware of the fact that you have work in the morning, and that any opportunity you had to catch up on your own creative endeavors today was squandered. You're feeling so disgusted with yourself that when Alex calls to talk to you on her way back home from class, you simply say you had a really rough day at work, and you're trying to rest up before your shift tomorrow. She says she understands and wishes you a good night, though you can't help but notice that she sounds slightly disappointed. Ironically, the stress of potentially upsetting your partner compounds with the stress of not having gotten anything done this evening, and the stress of having to go into work tomorrow. The buzzing of anxiety in your brain melts together with your body's utter physical exhaustion, and you sink into a hypnagogic anxious funk. I'm going with hypnagogic. Too tired to try and work, but too anxious to fall asleep for several hours. But you are very depressed, spend a large amount of time sleeping, hating yourself, and have very little energy or motivation. You're not currently eating. Okay. Next then. Alright, so that didn't work out. Hey. It's an old game. I'm not gonna bother correcting that. It's a mild Friday afternoon. Alex calls you for one of her classes, telling you that there's going to be a really awesome birthday party tonight at her apartment that one of her roommates is throwing. You've hung out with this roommate a few times with Alex, and you get along well enough, but aren't particularly close. You don't have work in the morning, and have nothing else in particular to do tonight. You're feeling kind of run down. You have been fatigued most of the time lately. You mention that you're feeling ill because you're not sure how else to explain those feelings to someone else, and say that you aren't sure that you can make it tonight. There's a second of silence over the phone, but you can swear you can hear the sound of your partner's face fall. She tries to convince you anyway. You haven't seen her this week, and she sounds pretty insistent that you come over. She even drops a few suggestively worded hints that you can stay over with them tonight after the party. What do? Shake off your funk and go have a good time with your girlfriend? Agree to go, or say that you're really just not feeling well and can't make it. I'll say I'd better go. Nice music. You agree to go, even though you're really not feeling social. You know it's important to Alex, and you'd really like to see her. Seeing her does make you feel better sometimes, and you hope that this is the case tonight, even if it does mean dealing with all the usual social anxiety. The time to leave rolls around, and you grab your overnight bag. Alex's apartment is a short walk away, and there's already people hanging out on the porch. You feel your chest tighten as you approach the building and try to steel your nerves. You quickly find your partner, chatting away with the birthday girl, and Alex immediately lightens up when she sees you. I'm so happy you came. Wasn't sure if you're going to make it. A young man taps her on the shoulder, and she turns back to you to apologize, and lets you know that they have to do something for the party. Alex hands you a beer and plants a kiss on your cheek before going off to deal with whatever came up. As you look around, you don't see anyone else you recognize. So can't enthusiastically socialize, okay. Awkwardly stands in the same spot, unsure of what else to do. Put your bag in your Alex's room, and avoid the crowd in there for a while. Cling to the back wall, sip your beer, and wait for your girlfriend to return. proceed to drink in earnest, hoping it makes you less uncomfortable. And also last thing, Alex hands you a beer and plants kisses you before going off to the other side. Don't have time to do this. Okay. I guess it would be more practical to drop off your bag next. Just, means you're not holding on to it. You take your beer and shift through the crowd until you arrive at Alex's room. The room is actually empty of other partygoers, and you sit on her bed as you set your bag down. Thankfully for the personal space and feeling a lot less claustrophobic. I didn't mean to do that, was claustrophobic. You mess around on your phone while you sip your beer. Keep telling yourself to go back out in 5 more minutes, but every time the time rolls around to go back out, you feel the panic creeping, and you stay rooted to this spot. You figure no one here knows you anyway, so it's unlikely that you'll be missed. A few minutes later, Alex comes into the room. Oh, there you are! I was wondering where you'd gone off to. Figured it might find you here. She sits down on the bed next to you, buzzed enough to be slurring slightly. I'm really glad you could turn up today. To be honest, I really didn't think you'd show. It's really cool you did, really. You know she meant it lovingly, but you're not quite sure how you feel about the statement. It's a little afternoon on a muggy Saturday. Your mother has come over for a surprise visit, claiming loudly that she doesn't see you enough, so she decided to invite herself over. As you converse, she walks around your place, and you get the distinct impression that you're being inspected. So what's going on with you lately? She asks abruptly. Taken somewhat aback by his left fielder, you tell her you're not sure what she means. She repeats the question, saying that you haven't seemed like yourself lately. She gestures to the dirty dishes piled in the sink, and notes the fact that you haven't called or visited in a while. Your reticence only seems to spur her on more. She presses you, asking if you're having problems at work or with Alex, and you're beginning to feel increasingly battered by a sudden, well-meaning but overwhelming inquisition. Under questions, you become increasingly uncomfortable. You want to be able to explain to her how you've been feeling, but the truth is, you're not really sure yourself. Nothing horrific has happened at work or with your significant other or friends or anything like that. But all the same, you can't deny that lately you felt drained and as though you're not really here. You wish you could tell your mother these things, but she hasn't been approachable about negative emotions in the past. She's the kind of person who holds the opinion that the solution to any problem is to simply try harder and maintain a positive attitude, a stance that has reared its head in past conversations when you've begun to explore the subject with her. You know she's unlikely to be understanding, and you feel the energy drain out of you when you imagine what would happen if you managed to blurt out everything you are feeling. What do? Let her know that you've been feeling down lately and you appreciate concern. Try to be honest with her anyway. Tell her everything's fine, thank you. It's never going to be better unless you try again. I mean, I guess it's sort of echoing the same sentiment that she's been saying, but there's some kind of truth to it. You attempt to tell your mother how you're feeling, despite initial misgivings that you have about doing so. Finding the right words for how you're feeling feels like trying to untangle Christmas lights, searching for the dead bulb in the cluttered mess. She watches you intensely and audibly sighs before you can clearly articulate anything. Unfortunately, she reacts predictably. An attitude like that won't get you anywhere. You need to work harder at getting what you want, instead of sitting around feeling sad about it. Nothing good will happen unless you make it happen. She isn't angry or spiteful as she tells you this. You try to explain that it's not a matter of that, but you can't tell that But you can tell that you're not getting anywhere. Frustration chokes the words in your throat, and you give up on trying to push the subject further. You know she's giving you the advice that makes sense to her, and genuinely wants the best for you. However, she doesn't understand that it's not as simple as somehow deciding to be positive or work harder. It's that those things aren't viable options because of these feelings. You accept your defeat, and the conversation drifts on to other subjects. She leaves after chiding you, there it is again, chiding you to call out more often and take better care of yourself. You sigh heavily as you close the door behind her, spends the next few hours laying in bed, staring at the ceiling. It is a lazy Sunday morning. I thought this would be short, but relatively speaking, I think it's short, to be fair. Anyway, it's a lazy Sunday morning. You are idly clicking around online as your phone rings. Sam, a co-worker of yours that you're friendly with, asks how you are and makes hurried small talk with you. You typically only ever talk to him on the phone when one of you needs a shift covered, so it's slightly awkward. You're waiting in anticipation for him to ask you to come in on short notice when he veers the conversation in a completely different direction. I have no idea what's happening on the other end. I'm hearing the music stutter, and I am a little afraid that it's affecting the recording and the stream. Sorry. You're waiting in anticipation for him to ask you to come in on short notice when he veers the conversation in a completely different direction. How do you feel about cats? He asks. Mine had kittens a few weeks ago, and God, sorry, got something caught to my throat. I need to drink water. It's my bad. Pardon. How do you feel about cats? He asks. Mine had kittens a few weeks ago, and I'm having an awfully hard time finding a home for the last one of the litter. You don't have any pets, right? It takes you a moment to process this new information, and you're caught off guard as he begins to earnestly try to sell you on the idea of taking the lost kitten off his hands. It's not something that you had specifically considered before, and he seems fairly insistent. She's a real sweetheart, really loves people. She's got all her shots already taken care of, and the vet said she's healthy as a horse. I can bring her over by your place tonight if you're interested. You look around your apartment and try to picture a cat in it as he continues to tell you about how cute she is. You tell him that this is all kinds of sudden, and that you don't have anything for the kitten set up here. Oh, don't worry about that. I could bring over a litter box, and food, and all that, since you'd really be helping me out of a fix. It's the least I could do. I just don't want to have to put her in a shelter. You can't help but feel like you're being guilt-tripped, but you decide to give it some serious consideration. It does get awfully lonely around your apartment, and it might feel less empty with the cat around. However, since you've been feeling so down, it might not be a good idea to take on the responsibility of a cat, even if they are fairly low maintenance. What do you do? Take the cat knowing full well that you can take care of it. Decline, even though you'd be totally capable of taking care of it. Not much of a cat person. No, can't do those. Become a cat owner. You could use the companionship. Decline, you're not in a good enough place to be taking on more responsibility right now. Decline, you don't like cats. If my character's not living with everyone right now, then if everything's melds together anyway, then the last thing you want is for those days melding together to be spent completely isolated. Having a cat around, companionship would be, at least to me, but I'm not going to claim to be the arbiter of therapy or anything or information. just having that consistent, like, living thing that lives with you and will try and like make you feel better, like on a constant basis. I think that could do a lot of help. Oh, that's adorable. It's a cute cat. You accept the offer of the kitten and hang up shortly after, making arrangements for when your co-worker can drop her off tonight. After hanging up, you worry about if you've suddenly taken on a responsibility that you can't handle. You hope you don't make a small animal suffer for it. You're not entirely sure what to expect, and you spend the rest of your afternoon researching cat care online and trying to think of a name. The evening rolls around and you hear a knock at your door, startling you out of reading Wikipedia entirely too hard. Oh god, excuse me. You take possession of a small, terrified black and white kitten in a carrier, along with everything you need to start taking care of her. You take her into the bedroom. Lost it. Evening round, you take possession of a small, terrified black and white kitten in a carrier, along with everything it needs to start taking care of her. You take her into your bedroom, close the door, and open the door to the carrier excitedly. She cowers in the back of it, and you back off, feeling slightly defeated. You remember what you researched on introducing a cat to a new home, and you leave her alone to go mess around on your computer, hopefully checking over your shoulder every so often to see if she has come out yet. She hides inside a carrier periodically, making sorrowful cat howls long enough for you to start worrying that she's already doesn't like you. But by the time you go to bed, she's curled up at the foot of it, eyeing you nervously before falling asleep. Over the next few days, you gain her trust and begins affectionately following you around, sleeping on you, and hopping up on you anytime you sit down to do some work. I think this is the beginning of something good. You are not currently seeing a therapist. I would consider a cat or a pet a kind of therapist. It's a late Friday afternoon, and quitting time is just around the corner. A bright, clear day is giving way to a still, temperate evening. You can hear your co-workers all around you anxiously making plans for their evenings and weekends. But you're really looking forward to just going home, resting after what's turned out to be a very long, taxing work week. Just before the end of your shift, you get a call from Alex. It seems a group of your mutual friends are heading out to a nearby pub for dinner and drinks to celebrate the end of the week, and they want to know if you'd like to come along. You tentatively tell her that you're emotionally exhausted from the work week, and a social outing like that would just take too much out of you today. You encourage her to go and have a good time, since you know it's been a while since she's gone out with friends. But the effort feels futile, since you know that she isn't going to go without you. A couple hours later, the two of you find yourselves in a familiar position, on the couch, watching comedy shows on Netflix, a box of pizza open on the coffee table in front of you. As you look across the couch at her, you start to feel anxious. You feel bad about effectively forcing the two of you to stay in tonight again, while you're always appreciative of your partner's efforts to take your feelings into account. And help make sure you're socially comfortable. You sincerely worry that you're holding her back from enjoying a more fulfilling relationship. While she does seem to enjoy spending time with you, as the two of you sit in comfortable, almost contented silence, watching old movies you've each seen 2 or 3 times before, your ever-increasing fear that your relationship is becoming one-sided weighs more and more heavily on you. You feel more than ever like a burden or rewards to her, and it's virtually impossible for you to see what value you could possibly offer to her in return. Worst of all, This nagging fear has made you feel more self-conscious than ever, withdrawing ever inwards, and you've started to pull away, even from Alex herself. What do? You know, despite the bad times, your girlfriend sincerely loves you. Relationships are a two-way street, and you resolve to always be there for her, like she has been for you. Tell Alex how important she is to you. Enjoy your evening. Ask Alex if she's happy with your relationship. Don't say anything. You're already worried about her being upset with you. God. Depressing as it is, it's never gonna get better without confrontation, so ask Alex if she's happy with your relationship. You look over at Alex, who hasn't noticed you watching her yet, and you try to pass the expression on her face. You worry that it's one of sheer boredom and bare tolerance. You wonder if she's thinking about all the fun things she could have been doing tonight if she wasn't trapped on this couch with you, ordering from one of the same three takeout places that you always order from. A sense of disappointing her creeps over you as you picture what the night could have been if you had just accepted the invitation she had made earlier. I know this is a pretty boring Friday night for you. Are you really happy being with me? Being like this? She turns to you. She turns to look at you, forehead wrinkled. Why do you ask me that so often? You feel her body stiffen and pull away from yours just a little. Well, I mean, you start, but you are unable to try and think of how to answer. It's probably silly, but it's reassuring when I hear that we're on the same page. I want to make sure I'm right for you. I know it's not what you'd usually be up to. I don't know, I guess I kind of worried that you're getting bored sometimes. Never mind. Okay, I'm not gonna pick number 5. I know it's not what you'd usually be up to, and I don't know, I guess oh god. Okay, at least one of them describes how you're feeling. I guess I get kind of worried. Alex sighs. Look, if that were the case, I'd let you know. I don't think you're boring. You're more of a homebody than I am. I'm learning how to deal with that. Deal with it, you think? Repeating it in your mind? Does she see you as a problem to be dealt with? You try to pick a reply apart in your mind, and all of your conclusions leads to your previous worry that you're holding her back. You begin thinking that the phrasing was chosen without too much deliberation, and that despite her attempts at reassuring you, this slip of the tongue revealed her true feelings. As you picture how much fun she would be having right now if you'd only accepted her invitation and managed to somehow get over your reservations and anxieties, despite not knowing how you would go about it. She cuddles back up to you. Thanks for putting up with me, you say, staring at the TV without actually watching it. She sighs in response. It is a breezy Sunday afternoon. You've allowed Amanda, an old friend from school that is in town for the weekends, to talk you into leaving the house for coffee and catch up. You meet her in a small cafe and talk about what you've been up to since you've last seen each other, and you can't help but feel like they're a lot more accomplished and interesting than you are while listening to them talk about their life after school. When it's your turn to brief them on your activities, you feel anxious and ashamed to give a very abbreviated version. You try to talk about your job as little as possible and and you feel incredibly boring while you describe it, despite her expressing sincere interest in you and your life. Amanda has known you long enough to read your mood and tone of voice. She leans in to ask a question, which gently touching your hand, a look of genuine concern on her face. What's wrong? Do you suggest a change of location? Confides in her honestly. Test the waters and open up a little, hoping she'll understand. Insist that nothing is wrong and change the subject. Defensively ask what she means by that. Notice that your hands are shaking. Insist that nothing is wrong. Defensive. Notice that your hands are shaking. I'm hoping this leads to recognition, but yeah. It's such a small question. It feels like a blow to the gut. You surprise yourself when you realize that your tightly clenched fists are now beginning to shake slightly. Despite your best efforts, you feel tears begin to sting at your eyes. You try to disguise this by tilting your head up and praying that they'll suck back in. She suggests that you two get out of there, and you feel mortified. She offers to go back to your apartment with you, but the two of you end up talking in a car for 2 hours, as the words just pour forth from you. Amanda seems unsure of what to say at times, but she listens and rubs your back as you sob and talk. She asks if you've gone to a doctor about this, and you admit that you haven't. She mentions that her mother is seeing a very good therapist in town, and offers to ask her about it. You're not thrilled about the idea of going to a therapist, and even less thrilled that Amanda might be telling someone about your problems. But she persists, tells her she'll email you the doctor's contact form and information later in the week. Okay, that is progress. That is progress. You're deeply depressed. Even activities you used to enjoy hold little or no interest for you, and you exist in a near constant state of lethargy. Okay. It's a glaringly sunny morning, and one of the few days that your brother Malcolm is in town, and free long enough for you two to actually see each other. You have a dental appointment that day, but you make plans for him to pick you up afterwards. Your appointment takes a little longer than expected, because your dentist tells you that you've been grinding your teeth in your sleep, to a worrying degree. Given how nearly everything in your life has been feeling enormous and stressful lately, this doesn't come as a surprise to you. He suggests that you try to reduce your stress levels, and fits you for a night guard. It feels awkward and too big for your mouth, and you feel embarrassed looking at your puffed out face in the mirror lit in. You finish up the appointment in a hurry, and leave with about half an hour overdue for meeting your always punctual brother in the parking lot. You finish up as quickly as possible, and leave the building to scan the parking lot for your brother's car. You don't see his old Civic anywhere. You pass by a blue Camaro, and jump as it beeps at you, causing you to jump in surprise. It takes you a moment to realize it, but it's Malcolm in the driver's seat. You hop in the passenger seat and compliment him on the new ride, and he mentions that it's a perk of a promotion he's recently obtained at work. He starts telling you about how much more money he's making, how his career is really taking off, and how he's starting to look at houses with his wife soon. You clutch the bag containing the night guard in your hand, feel yourself clench your teeth as you think of your crummy apartment and how long it's been since you've been able to take a day off work without having to worry about making ends meet. He's only 2 years older than you, but it feels like he's eons ahead of you in every other aspect of your lives. So, he asks, how did your appointment go? Did you get drilled full of holes or what? A sense of shame creeps over you. Laugh about your talking night guards with your brother. Tell him about the night guards and why you need it. Lie, tell him it was a routine cleaning. Or tell him about your tooth grinding problem, but not the stress causing it. The dentist said... The dentist said I'm apparently grinding my teeth too much when I sleep. Oh? Malcolm replies. Been stressed out lately? Been stressed out lately, kiddo? Deciding that you don't really want to go into it, you tell him that you don't think that's the case, and it's probably just a random thing. He doesn't pry further, instead begins reminiscing with you about the time you chipped a baby tooth, because he accidentally knocked you over once. You go out for dinner and catch up on things. You still feel somewhat distracted by the gnawing anxiety in the back of your mind. Though you enjoy your brother's company, you still feel like you want nothing more than to go home and hide from the world tonight. It becomes hard for you to try to stuff all of your horrible feelings down and go emotionless. When someone like the dentist can see a fraction of what goes on inside your head, it leaves you feeling embarrassed and weak, and you hate yourself for feeling that way. You wonder if you're really fooling anyone into thinking you're a normal person. And then you wonder if your brother knows and is hanging out with you out of pity tonight. After he drops you back off at your apartments, you throw the night guard out. You can't stand to even look at the thing. I don't know much about the cat. It's a dry Sunday morning. You grab your morning coffee and scoot your rapidly growing kitten off your office chair. Just as I mention it, your rapidly growing kitten off your office chair, and despite her protests, sit down at your desk to check your email. A new message pops up in your inbox. Almost as soon as you do, it's from Amanda. And you remember your meeting in the cafe, and awkwardly bring up your feelings to her. Subject: Hey buddy. Body: Hey, sorry it's been a few weeks. I meant to get this to you sooner, but it took a while for me to get a hold of my folks back home. Dad told me to say hi, by the way. Anyway, I remembered what we talked about last time. I saw you and I hope you aren't insulted, but I asked my mum for the number for a therapist. Don't worry, I didn't tell her who it was for. I think she's worried about me now though. Anyway, the number is 647-723-5274. It's a really good office. You should look into it. Talking to someone never hurts. If you're worried about money, don't be. They're one of the few that have had a really good sliding scale fees. Excuse me. If you're worried about money, don't be. They're one of the few that has a really good sliding scale fee system and won't charge you what you can't afford. I hope you're feeling better. It was really nice to see you again. Hey. Still early enough that you could call and make an appointment today. Your kitten curls up in your lap as you consider what to do. Call the therapist's number you're looking forward to the help you think they can offer. Try your luck and call a number, even though the mere thought of talking to someone makes you anxious. She cared enough to send it to you after all. Sleep on it, and see how you're feeling in the morning. You're not keen on the idea at all, but you don't want to disappoint Amanda. Close the email without thinking more about it. This has been embarrassing enough already. I suppose you're gonna get closer to that goal with option 3. The thought of picking up the phone and calling someone about this right now is overwhelming. Sure, you're having a hard time lately and have motivation issues, but are you really in need of therapy? Shouldn't you be able to just get over it yourself? What if they put you on medication that makes you feel like a zombie? What if you go and the therapist looks down on you? What will addicts think about this? Trying to think about all these things at once makes it feel like a very big deal. You decide to take your time to think about it. The rest of your day passes quickly. And at night you have a hard time trying to sleep, because your brain is too busy thinking about all these things, and imagining all the ways it could go horribly wrong. The next morning you check email again, with blurry ice sand, a mewing kitten. Amanda's email is still there, seemingly waiting for you. You are no more decided than you were yesterday. What now? Just call already, can't hurt to check it out. Call after wrestling with it for a few minutes longer. Don't call. There's way too much for you to be able to deal with right now. No, come on. Call after wrestling, come on. You read through Amanda's email 2 or 3 more times, then sit and stare at your computer for a while. While the memory of that uncomfortable conversation makes you feel newly embarrassed and self-conscious, part of you is also encouraged by the fact that she cared enough to get back to you at all. Sitting in front of your computer, you start to question things like whether or not Amanda sent you this number out of pity, or perhaps some sense of obligation after having listens to you. You question her motives and validity of her concern, and whether or not you think seeing a therapist would even be helpful. Sitting in front of your computer, you start to question things like whether or not Amanda sent you this number out of pity, or perhaps some sense of obligation after having listened to you. You question her motives and the validity of her concern, and whether or not you think seeing a therapist would even be helpful. Yet, almost unconsciously, you reach for your phone, and before you realize what's happening, you're listening to a therapist's line ring. Before you can bring yourself to hang up, you're listening to the slightly clinical but not unpleasant voice of the receptionist. Ask how she can help you. I'd like to make an appointment with the doctor. You manage to stammer out. The conversation is quick and not nearly as unpleasant as you were fearing, and quicker than you can say Freudian slip. You've scheduled an appointment. Quicker than you realize, appointment day rolls around. What do? Go to a therapist's office? Head to the therapist's office, even though you're totally unsure what to expect. Sit in your car terrified, and try to talk yourself in/out of going. Just the thoughts of going to your appointments ties your stomach in knots. You crawl back into bed. Now, head to the therapist's office. You have your first session with your new therapist, Dr. Susan Melville, a tall woman in her mid-40s with a disarming demeanor and patient eyes, at the start of the slightest smile lines. She makes you feel comfortable fairly easily, which is a pleasant surprise after all the anxiety over the appointment. As you leave, you make a second appointment. You're still skeptical about all of this, but figure you might as well see where this goes. The hardest part, it seems, was taking the first step. You're still not sure if and how you're going to tell your family or your partner, but you figure you'll deal with that when the time comes. Either way, you feel relieved that you managed to see this through instead of being paralyzed with worry over it. Even if nothing comes of it, you did something you said you would instead. Even if nothing comes of it, you did something you said you would, instead of flicking out or running away. You're emotionally exhausted when you get home, and collapse into bed. You sleep better that night than you have in a week, and you're not sure if it's because you were so tired when you got home, or if it's because of the therapist. You're very depressed. You spend a large amount of time sleeping, hating yourself, and have very little energy or motivation. You've spent some time on a therapist's couch. You're having difficulty finding the motivation to continue going to your sessions. You're not currently taking medication for depression. Okay. It is early on a Wednesday morning. Lately, you've developed a nasty habit of waking up 10 to 20 minutes before your alarm rings. And unfortunately, today is no exception. You lay in bed each minute, ticking closer and closer to wake-up time, and passing on a swelling wave of ever-encroaching dread. Sooner than you would like, your alarm blares with caustic inevitability. You frantically pound the snooze button, and then retreat under your blankets, as if the warmth of your comforter can shield you from the passage of time. You almost always have difficulty rising from bed, but today that simple task seems nothing short of Herculean. After several snooze cycles, you decide that you just can't deal with work today. You're incapable of even rousing yourself from bed, let alone going into work and having to force yourself through a work day. Not to mention you've snoozed so many times that it would be impossible to make it in on time now anyways. What do? Hop out of bed and start getting ready for work. You'll be late, but it's better than not going in at all. Head into work. At least you can leave early if it gets too unbearable. Call your boss to tell him you're sick and will be in today. It might not go well, but I reckon head into work. Maybe off schedule, but you need some kind of structure. In spite of the fact that your body is actively fighting you, literally every step of the way, you somehow manage to drag yourself out of bed and make your way into work. Surprisingly, you end up only being about 5 minutes late. Nobody seems to notice or care. Though, when you woke up, the simple act of being even physically present at your job seems like an impossibility. You're surprised at your own ability to push on through the day, while you are far from enjoying, or indeed even really coping with the dullness of your job today. You seem to have slipped into a trance-like state of automation, and time is nevertheless passing. Eventually, the end of the day rolls around, and you head home, utterly exhausted, but at the same time almost proud of yourself for having stuck it out. Oh, that's good. You are depressed. Interaction is exhausting, and you are becoming more and more withdrawn. Okay. It's, oh my god. Fucking hell, that's everything gone. It's 2 AM on a Sunday, and you have work in the morning. You roll over to see the sickly green glow of the time displayed on your LED alarm clock, and let out an exasperated sigh. You've been trying to fall asleep for over 3 hours, now to no avail. Every time your head hits the pillow, you're overcome with anxious thoughts that wrap themselves around each other. Worries about your job lead to worries about your future, lead to worries about your very identity, and you're unable to shake them off long enough to doze off. Your eyes won't even stay shut as your mind races through imagined scenarios, going horribly wrong, which you promptly attribute to your general worthlessness. Your thoughts run too fast for you to come to a satisfying conclusion on any one of them. Your room is completely silent, but the silence has given way to a loud static noise, rattling around inside your head. Your heart beats loudly as you worry it's beating a little too fast. You worry that if you focus too strongly on your racing heart, You'll freak yourself out hard enough to have a heart attack. You have to be awake for work in a mere 8 hours. But you know that your work is so much worse on only a few hours sleep. What do? Force yourself to sleep. Go to bed, it shouldn't be that hard. Just close your eyes and let it happen. Why won't your thoughts back off for 5 seconds? Snap out of it. What's wrong with you? Why can't you stop stressing out for 5 minutes? 5 seconds. You're probably going to go into work tomorrow exhausted and fuck everything up and get fired. Go to your computer. Sleep is clearly not happening, no matter how long you lay there. Lay here. Oof. Hugs, but what? Huh. Is my name Hugs Bosun? Huh, okay. You get out of bed and head to your desk, laying in bed with nothing but your thoughts to keep you company. Wait, no. Sorry. You get out of bed and head to your desk. Laying in bed with nothing but your thoughts to keep you company makes you feel like you're going insane. The harshness of the light coming from the screen makes you squint as you turn it on. Despite how often you find yourself in this exact situation. There have been so many nights lately just like this. As you begin reading a news story an online friend of yours IMs you. You're up late again, I see. Yeah, can't sleep. Again. Thinking too much again? Thinking? You guessed it. Want to talk about it? You end up talking with Attic for quite some time about how you've been feeling. It's always been easy to talk to about personal matters, and the added security of talking online helps. Being able to rethink what you say as you type it out, check it before you send it out, helps you gather your thoughts, and you find it less intimidating in a way to type it all into a prompt than say it out loud. I don't want to be that guy who thinks they can diagnose something because I read a Wikipedia article, but it kind of sounds like you might have depression. You should talk to someone about that, like a doctor. You pause. Are you really that transparent? Or is it that you've gotten used to talking about your feelings at this point? Your insomnia makes you a little paranoid, but you shake it off. We can do some research and see if there's a good doctor near you. It's not like we're going back to sleep anytime soon anyway. Might as well do something while you're awake. This is just a low night. I'm normally able to sleep and I don't have depression, but thank you for your concern. No, that's okay. Actually, I have talked to someone about it. It's better. Oh, okay. I'm glad you're taking that step. I've heard it's not an easy one. I know people kind of suck at understanding this sort of stuff sometimes. But there's nothing wrong with having depression. You wouldn't be ashamed to have bronchitis or something. So there's no reason to be ashamed if it's your brain that's sick instead. You spend a few minutes talking with Attic about your therapy and your feelings about it. He's incredibly supportive, and you're happy to find that you have a confidant that understands your illness and is willing to lend an ear when you're having nights like this. A little while later, you fall back into bed, kitten in tow, and find it easier to drift off to sleep. Even in therapy, you know you're still gonna have nights like these sometimes. It's good to know you have a friend who will help carry you through them. No. It's a chilly Thursday night, and you've just gotten off work. This has felt like one of the longest days you faced in recent memory. Even though nothing exceptional has happened, a ton of minor things kept going wrong, and coworkers have tried yeah, and coworkers had tried your patience throughout the day. You considered leaving work early, and the last thing you wanted to do was deal with your insufferable boss on top of everything else. You're lost in thought on your on the commute home, and your feelings of frustration, both with your life and the world around you, build as you run into minor annoyances, like someone bumping into you really hard as they walk by. By the time you get home, you're exhausted, and you remember that these feelings were ones you identified as a negative feedback loop with your therapist. These pent-up feelings aren't dying down, and are eating at you. You open your front door and stare at your apartment. An overwhelming feeling of exhaustion overcomes you. You feel like your energy levels are low enough that you'll likely settle into a single activity tonight. What do? Just shake off your bad mood, and do something fun for the rest of the evening. Reach out to someone closer to you. Don't burden anyone with your problems. Distract yourself. Reach out to someone close to you. Your head feels too noisy, and you need to trade it for some actual conversation. Your therapist did say that it was important to reach out to your support network, so you might as well give it a shot. Who do you call? Your coworker Sam. He's friendly enough and could be a good distraction. Your mother. She's unconditionally loves you. Excuse me. She unconditionally loves you, and even if she doesn't always understand you. Alex, she's your girlfriend. Malcolm. He's family and fun to talk to. God, that's actually really difficult. They're all good options, to be fair. I would say mother because it would. If I went with mother, with my mother, then it would. I'd say it'd be a positive experience, but I don't know how far you could possibly get. Things went well with Amanda after opening up, and of course the therapist as well. So, if anything, Alex or Malcolm might be good options. Malcolm never means poorly, like never. It's a bit difficult to judge Alex, I suppose. And then again, although Malcolm doesn't know about the situation, but I'm sure Alex is suspecting something. You dial Alex, who picks up after only 2 rings. You ask if she has time to talk, and she tells you she's just hanging around in her PJs and is actually somewhat bored for once, due to being caught up on her coursework. You try to figure out where to start with how you're feeling and are overcoming with missing her face. You try to figure out where to start with how you're feeling and are overcome with missing her face. You ask if she feels like grabbing some dinner, and you notice her barely contained surprise and delight on the other end of the line. Oh. You meet about half an hour later at an inexpensive diner not far from your apartment. While the food is not great, you're surprised by how much your mood seems to have elevated just being in her company. While at first you were extremely hesitant to talk about your job situation for fear of being burdensome, sounding like a whiner, you see her listening intensely. To you with what even to you seems to be genuine concern. After winding down with a beer, you cautiously open up a little bit more about your feelings surrounding your job, how drained it leaves you feeling, how you feel like you're simply existing, selling days of your life for no real purpose. You surprise even yourself when you start talking about how frustrated and stymied, stymied you feel about your job, about how you used to feel passionately about things, but feel like all your energy and capacity for creativity is getting leached out of you each and every workday. You can't remember how long it's been since you've externalized this much raw emotion. The two of you spend several hours in a diner booth, long after your half-eaten food was cleared and the waitress stopped refilling your coffee cups. As you get up to leave, a sudden wave of self-consciousness washes over you and suddenly feel incredibly awkward. Then Alex stands up and grabs you tightly around your waist. You realize that short of boring her with your seemingly endless rants, just simply happy to have got a chance to spend real time with you. It's been, by all accounts, incredibly too long since you've allowed yourself to open up to them like this, and there's an almost palpable feeling of closeness, and you allow yourself to hold on to as... God damn it, I'm behind. Where is it? And there's an almost palpable feeling of closeness you allow yourself to hold onto as you go to bed that night. That's different. It is an utterly nondescript Wednesday afternoon. The type of afternoon that would completely fade from memory unless one made an active effort to preserve it. As has become routine on Wednesdays, you are sitting on the couch in Dr. Melville's office. To your mild surprise, she begins the session by breaking her characteristic therapist silence and begins speaking up right away. I wanted to start by saying I think it's great that you decided to come see me. It's an incredibly important first step, she begins. I wanted to take some time today to talk to you about the possibility of supplementing or substituting your treatment with medication. The mention of medication makes your ears perk up and you feel your heart rate increasing. She continues. Many people find adding a pharmacological element to the treatments to be very helpful, and some even prefer to take drugs, completely eliminating their need to visit a therapist at all, providing you rely on your support network and are still reaching out to people. I would prefer it if we kept talking, should you choose to start medication, so that I can monitor your progress and adjust as needed. But the choice is ultimately yours. I just want to run the option by you to gauge what your thoughts on the matter might be. Dr. Melville has just given you a lot to think about. What do you... Oh shit, this is the first time that some of the first and second options are available. Accept a prescription as a way to augment your therapy. Tell her you'd like to try drugs instead of therapy. These weekly sessions have always made you more than a little uncomfortable. The thought of messing with your brain chemicals makes you uneasy. You'll stick with therapy. This whole therapy thing has always overwhelmed you. And this is the final straw. You're done with both. But so long as I've got the first and second options available, I want to help. I want to take that step forward. Accept a prescription as a way to augment your therapy. You think the matter over long and hard. It's strange to think that recently none of this sort of thing was ever even on your radar. And here you are now being asked to make a decision about it. You're both skeptical and nervous, still getting over the initial shock of even just talking to a therapist. Still, over the years you've done enough entry-level reading on the subject to know that if it doesn't help, at least it probably won't hurt, right? After an intense and protracted period of internal vacillation, you decide to bite the bullet and go for it. You tell Dr. Melville that you'd like to try medication in addition to your therapy, and you spend about half an hour going over what you'll be taking, and what you should expect from it. Thinking back on the decision later, you're probably sure you had your fist tightly clenched the whole way through. You have started taking medication. You're hoping that it will work, but you aren't optimistic and are worried about the side effects. I'm definitely going to go over time, because I know it was going to be 8 to 10, but I'm actually willing to do that because I'm really enjoying this game. It's actually kind of like therapy within itself, which I don't know if I'll ever open up about that, but I'll include everything on the VOD as I upload it, but I definitely want to make an isolated video on this footage. It's been a while since I made a dedicated video, but I think this deserves it. It's a Wednesday evening, and you're visiting at your parents' house for a holiday. It's one of the handful of times during the year you drive out to visit your old hometown. Excuse me, sorry. And you've seen random people you had gone to school with around town. Whenever bumping into them, the usual short versions of what you've done since graduating are exchanged. You've gone through a few of these today, and have been very aware of how much you feel you haven't accomplished. When you were in high school, you had much larger plans, and you feel like you failed to manifest most of them. Even if you had managed to, you've largely lost interest in what you thought you wanted to do growing up. Now you're not really sure what you want to do, and you felt like you're lacking the ambition or drive to figure it out. Everyone you've caught up with seems so much happier than you. Like they've got their lives all figured out, and you've kind of been feeling like a failure by comparison. Your brother Malcolm arrives with his wife in tow, shortly before you all sit down to dinner. He's been travelling for his job lately, and you haven't seen him since the day he picked you up from the dentist. Your parents haven't seen him since before then. During dinner, they all catch up, and Malcolm talks about the amazing things he's done on the road. Your mother turns to you and asks what you've been up to since you've last seen them last. Oh, same old, you say. Nothing really new going on. Your mother makes a face. Oh, nothing new? How long are you planning on staying at that job of yours? What do you say? Tell them about the exciting new jobs you're gunning for? Lie. Tell them what they want to hear. That you're actively looking for a more prestigious position. Admit that you don't know what you want to do. Excuse yourself to the bathroom. Obviously, option 2 is not an option. Admit that you don't know what you want to do. Excuse yourself to the bathroom. I wonder if these unlock depending on my options. It'd be better to keep talking. Admit that you don't know what you want to do. Actually, you start sheepishly. Not really sure what I want to do right now. Your mum puts down her fork. So what? You're planning on living the way you do for the rest of your life? How do you afford a house on that paycheck? What about kids? Your father interrupts, lightly placing his hand over your mother's. It's okay, Linda. Let the kids be what they are. There's nothing wrong with not knowing what you want to do in your 20s. I didn't get into construction until I was nearly 40. Your mother looks across the table at you, unsatisfied with her husband's reasoning. I don't think it's normal for someone at that age to not have a path. You need to think hard about it, or you'll never make anything of yourself. Mum, come on. Malcolm interjects. This emotionally exhausts you. You want to tell her that you are thinking hard, and that not knowing what you're doing with yourself bothers you more than it could ever bother her. And sometimes it feels like you're lost in the woods. And that if you were to drop dead in your apartment, the world wouldn't notice. You want to make her understand that more often than not. You feel like an alien. Like there isn't anywhere in this world that feels like a place where you belong. And you have no idea how to fix it or what to do. You wish you could find the words so she could understand that being looked down on for this kills you and drives home the feeling of being a total outsider. Instead, you get very quiet for the rest of the meal while your mind goes numb. Everything inside you feels exhausted. Shit. What am I looking at? It's a rainy night. You're hurrying through the rain to Alex's apartment at her behest. Though your pace is quick, the rain is steadily soaking up your pant legs as you traverse the town, and it's darkening your already poor mood. The call came while you were at home after a day of dealing with abnormally frustrating people. You'd spend the afternoon trying to unwind and get some work on your project done. Alex called and interrupted one of your try to make progress, get frustrated at not making progress, have a harder time making progress due to frustration, repeat loops. And you haven't fully shaken off the feelings of being annoyed with yourself yet. You knock on her door, and on the third knock, hear her voice call from further in the apartment to come on in. As you cross the threshold, dripping rainwater all the way, you notice that the lights are turned down very low in the apartment. You squint to navigate as you clutch onto your damp umbrella, but end up hitting your shin on a side table, mumbling a profanity under your breath. You barely make out Alex emerging from the hallway, clad in what looks to be a robe with a bare skin on her legs peering out underneath. Why don't you come in and warm up? She asks in a designated, slightly cheesy, sexy voice. Ah, okay. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna pull that line in that kind of voice. After a beat of silence, she states more naturally, "My roommates are out of town this weekend, so I thought it might be nice to have a little fun while we're away." Nope, sorry. After a beat of silence, she states more naturally, "My roommates are out of town this weekend, so I thought it might be nice to have a little fun while they're away." You appreciate her affection, but you're too wrapped up in your own negative feedback loops to be in the mood right now. What do you do? Oh, shit. Oh, this is an awkward situation to be in. Let go of your stress and be intimate with your girlfriend. Try to unwind with her before getting physical. Suggest you do something else instead. Tell her you're not in the mood. Gotta try something. What the fuck am I looking at? You look at her standing, barely lit, and notice a few candles scattered around the apartment. It occurs to you that she has tried to make this night special for the two of you, even though you have a tight knot of antisocial frustration in your stomach. Seeing how much she cares makes you want to try to melt it away, so you can show her how much you care that she's gone through all this trouble. However, you desperately need to shift gears first, before that seemed possible. You look amazing. Let's have a drink together, you suggest, hoping that this will give you the push you need to get into the mood. You go into the kitchen and pour out 2 new drinks, trying to focus on letting go of your bad mood. You sit down on the couch next to her and she cuddles up to you instantly. What should we toast to? She asks as she takes her drink. You think for a moment, passing up the cheesy "to us" option. You say what's on your mind, letting go of your bad day. To tonight. The two of you cheers, and you ask her about her day. Conversation turns flirtatious, and the two of you find yourselves in the bedroom shortly after. You find that you're having trouble getting into things physically with her, and remember that diminished arousal was a possible side effect of your medication. You'd hope that you were part of the population that wouldn't be affected by it. It seems as though that was not the case. However, you're able to still enjoy the closeness with Alex, and fall asleep together happily. This is a good step forward. It's an early winter evening, and even though it's not particularly late, the time of year has lent the sky an almost prematurely darkened cast. Day after day, just like today, you trudge home from a job you have increasingly come to hate. On this day, your job might oh, excuse me, this is highly unprofessional. On this day, your job misery seems to have reached critical mass, and not even shedding your rain-laden and uncomfortable work clothes helps you to unwind from your workday. You collapse into your couch, blanket numb, while your job always seems to just be an unpleasant reality of its existence. It was a position you sort of fell into unexpectedly, never intending to work there long term, and it's getting harder and harder to keep it up. While it's certainly not your dream job, you've always just sort of stuck it out of necessity before, but it's becoming increasingly difficult to do that, though you couldn't even begin to imagine what else you could do. You find yourself face to face with a question you just can't ignore. Is your complacency worth the price of this level of misery? What do you do? Get proactive. Polish off your resume and start looking for other jobs to send feelers out to. Try and at least be productive by focusing your efforts on your project tonight. Aimlessly look through classifieds for another job. Turn on the TV and let your mind go blank. I think option 2, being productive, is a lot better than, well, the other options. You sit down at your computer to blow off some steam, but are surprised to find your thoughts drifting to your long neglected project. You talk yourself into opening it up and taking a look for the first time in what must be weeks. For whatever reason, your anger that you've been feeling towards your day job seems to have converted to pure passion. As you seem to be overflowing with ideas tonight, it's as if you've got a build-up of ideas that just haven't gotten out, and now you're in the zone. While you don't get an unnatural amount of work done, you do your work for a solid couple of hours, and it really feels great. What's more, you share some stuff across the social media networks, and you receive quite a bit of positive feedback, which makes you feel great. When you go top bed that night, you tell yourself that your job may suck, but at least you've got something you really care about that you can put effort into and feel really good about yourself. In fact, as you're falling asleep, you can barely remember your workday. You are moderately depressed. You find it hard to focus on anything because you get physically and mentally exhausted very quickly. You're in therapy with a good counselor. You're doing cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, and they are starting to help. Your medication is helping to keep the edge off, and keep some of the darker and more negative feedback loops from being as prevalent. What? This is going well. It's a little past 8 PM on a Tuesday night. You're at your computer, frustration levels peaked, rubbing your eyes and sighing heavily. You're working on a project from your job that has you stretched to wit's ends trying to meet a looming deadline. And as it lurks closer and closer, you're seriously doubting your ability to get it done. You've dragged your feet a little at work due to your complete lack of energy lately. In spite of wanting to do a good job, you find yourself unable to push past it. You feel horribly useless for it. You slide your hands off your face to look at your screen as it beeps. Hey, are you there? I really need to talk to someone about something. You feel like you're getting nowhere with your current task, and could probably use a break. However, you know that you have a history of getting distracted and then losing motivation to pick something back up again afterward. What do you do? Multitask? Tell Attic you're busy. Try to regain your focus. Don't answer. Answer Attic. Oh boy. Oh shit. I mean, we probably could use a break, even if it's really going to disrupt things. It's best if the disruption is going to be productive in some way. So, answer Attic. You're feeling like you've hit a brick wall with your task, so why not take a break and help out a friend? Hey, what's up? Oh good, you're there. I just found out I got cheated on. I don't know what to do. Oh no, that's horrible. The two of you talk for a long time, and you lend a shoulder to your friend. You give him space to rant, to cry, and to most importantly be able to voice his inner turmoil. You give him your full attention, and talk him through what his options are for what he does next. You keep him from doing something rash, and the two of you decide it's best for him to sleep on it before doing anything exhausted. Exhausted, he departs for bed and thanks you for being there to talk with him. As you close the IM window, you feel horribly sorry for your friend, but happy that you are able to help. It serves as a tangible reminder to you that you're capable of being useful to someone, instead of solely being a mess that needs everyone else's help. You boot up your work project and find that you're suddenly able to get some solid progress done in that night. That's good. That was probably the best option. Yeah, best outcome. It's a sunny Saturday afternoon. You're in deep thoughts on the way home from therapy. However, you notice this time that you're not in the same negative feedback loops you usually get trapped in when being this introspective. You realize that although you still have your bad days, your lows aren't quite as low as they used to be. Your antidepressants bottle rolls across your dashboard as you take a left turn. You've been on this medication for quite a while now, after a period of trying a few different kinds, though you still have minor side effects. They've overall become an unnoticed part of your life. You feel as if your life has generally changed for the better recently, and you begin to wonder if you need them anymore. You don't feel as much despair or hopelessness, and you hate yourself a lot less these days. Maybe it's time to stop taking these, you think. I seem to not really need them anymore. What do you do? Continue taking medication? Go off meds? Pardon me? Huh. I mean, it, it's a green way of seeing it, but if the only reason that you've reached this point was because of the medication, then it would be best to continue staying on them. You have the realization that you can't be sure if it's a general life change that's making you feel better, or if it's just a sign that the medication is working. You decide against discontinuing your meds. You decide against discontinuing your meds. It's not really a lesson you'd like to learn the hard way, and the side effects of this particular kind are negligible. The next day you see Dr. Melville. You tell her about this. She informs you that this is a common train of thought that people who have begun using medication to help them manage their depression experience, and that you've managed to dodge a bullet because it generally ends poorly. So I thought that would be the case. She also asked you to talk to her first before making decisions about your medication in the future. Alright, fair enough. That was fair. It's yet another sleepless Thursday night. You're at Alex's apartment, wide awake in bed as she's sleeping peacefully beside you. She fell asleep hours ago, and you've been laying here unable to shut your brain up long enough to fall asleep. You've added the feelings of insecurity about your relationship to the rest of the noise in your head, keeping you up tonight. It was kind of a tense night between the two of you. You arrived after a stressful day at work, and as you made dinner together, you barely said a word. You were stuck in your own head and had a hard time really being present with her, as your thoughts turned to all the ways you feel like you're deficient at being a good person and beating yourself up mentally for each one. This is why you definitely shouldn't come off the meds. She told you she could tell you were in one of your moods, and said that she wouldn't push you, but missed talking to you as the two of you sat on the couch together. You wanted to tell her how much you love her, but you couldn't make the words come out right, and ended up sounding defensive instead. As you lay there next to her now, you traced your fingers across her arm just lightly enough to not wake her. You still haven't explained your depression to her, or how you've started seeing a therapist, or that you've been taking medication, and it's starting to feel more and more like a secret you're keeping instead of something she simply doesn't know about you yet. It's becoming more and more apparent that it's impacting your relationship with her, and you feel guilty about this. However, you're always terrified that if she knew exactly how fucked up you are, that she would leave you. You're already worried that she's only with you because she hasn't realized how terrible of a person you are yet, and you're afraid that this would be the final thing to expose you. She stirs in her sleep and squints as she opens her eyes, with the confusion that comes with waking up. She asks you if you're awake, and then if everything's okay. Open to her with ease. Tell her about your situation. Tell her it's nothing, and that she should go back to sleep. tell about your situation. Just I don't know if anyone's picked up the theme yet, but I've been trying to keep things moving, never stopping. There was a chance to get a cat, that was it. There was a chance to open up, that was it. There was a chance to stay productive, that was it. And there was a chance that if there was no other option, but there was an option to help someone else, that was also it. Anyway, you feel like a jerk for accidentally waking her up, but you're afraid if you put this off any longer, that you won't find the strength to tell her everything later. No, actually, everything isn't okay. Can I tell you something? Something important? Alex sits up, rubbing the sleep out of her eyes. For the rest of the night, you lay side by side, holding hands as you tell her everything. You tell her how it's more than just feeling sad sometimes, and how you feel trapped by your own mind sometimes, how sometimes you feel nothing at all, and how you can't shake it off. You tell her how you've started going to therapy, how you feel embarrassed about it, and how it's working out for you. She listens the entire time, occasionally asking questions about how this or that works, or asking you to explain something further. She squeezes your hand and tells you she understands, and that she's sad you didn't tell her sooner. After laying silent for a moment, the weight of what you did hits you. You desperately wanted to say something, to tell you how she's feeling about all this, but you're too afraid of what the answer would be. You start convincing yourself that now that she knows everything, she's going to leave. There's no way someone could deal with how you really are. So, how can I help you? What do you need me to do? She asks. You think for a second, and the answer you come up with fills you with a despair. I honestly don't know. I wish I knew how to fix this, but I don't know that you can do anything. I think it's something I just had to live with. She looks at you with sad eyes before kissing you on the forehead. Then I'll live it with you. I don't know how you could possibly love me. She rolls over and wraps her arms around your neck, settling her head on top of yours. You don't need to. Just know that I do. You're definitely still depressed. Things are getting better. Whatever you're doing seems to be working. Where you feel like you're taking steps to affect positive change in your life. You now seem to enjoy seeing your therapist between giving you a chance. You now seem to enjoy seeing your therapist between giving you a chance to talk things out and the CBT techniques she shares with you. You find your sessions extremely helpful. You've been taking your medication regularly, and while you were skeptical at first, it's hard to argue with the fact that you're feeling better than you have in a long time. I don't know how close I am to the end, but I don't know, I definitely feel like this is going well. It's a Friday night, and you're laying across your bed, feeling pathetic. As you are leaving work tonight, a group of co-workers asked if you want to join them for drinks. Feeling antisocial and put on the spot, you declined. You have a habit of doing this. You're often so convinced that you are weird and terrible that any invitation to hang out will end in disappointment for those inviting you. You never feel like you know how to act in group outings, and you feel like a total creep since it seems to come so naturally to anyone who isn't you. You find yourself petrified of breaking some unknown social rule. You don't often go out. Now, however, you find yourself alone at home. Your brain has begun telling you how pathetic and sad you are for being unable to just be a normal person and to go out with nice people. You can't figure out why you can't just go out and meet people and enjoy yourself. At the same time, you're also feeling like no one would possibly want to hang out if they really knew you, because you're dull and weird anyway. You try your typical strategy and boot up Netflix to distract yourself from these feelings, but frustration with yourself builds, and you realize you have to do something else with your night. Anything else to take your mind off of how awful and lonely you feel right now. What do? Get over it and go out to the bar where your coworkers are hanging out anyway. See if Attic's online. Call Alex. Drink. Go out somewhere alone. Play with your cat. Okay, so obviously, don't drink. Obviously, shouldn't go out alone. I don't know where that's going to lead. You could call Alex, or see if Attic's online, or play with your cat. I don't know how often you play with your cat. Then again, I feel like everyone's had time with you except for your cat. You know what? The cat definitely seems like the right option. I mean, you can run the gamble that one of them, Attic or Alex, are still awake, but if you're feeling awful and lonely, then playing with your cat that's always there with you would be a positive way to reinforce that you're not alone, not even in the figurative sense. You've got that companion with you. Play with your cat. Nights like this, you're very glad you made the call to become a cat owner. Feeling too socially burnt out to interact with other people, you go find your cat. You get her to chase a laser pointer for a solid 30 minutes before she tires herself out. She pads over to you and collapses in a heap in your lap, purring loudly. Though initially she hated being picked up, you carry her to the computer desk with you, and she doesn't object. Setting her down on your lap, you comfortably serve the Insta for a while, before heading to bed. Having her here with you has a calming effect, and it makes you feel a lot less alone. It's a cold Saturday afternoon. You've just arrived at Alex's apartment, and you're happy to finally see her after a week of absence due to your schedules not lining up due to work and school. You hug her in the doorway, but she breaks away sooner than normal, sits down on the couch as you take off your sneakers and lay them in the usual place right next to hers. There's something I was hoping we could talk about, actually, she says. You instantly worry that excuse me. You instantly worry that you're being blindsided by a breakup conversation due to the sudden shift in tone, but she quickly smiles and puts you at ease once she sees all the color leave your face. It's nothing bad, I promise. With that, she leads you over to the couch and sits on the other end of it, facing you. So, I hope it doesn't freak you out, and if you feel like things are going too fast, just tell me. She talks faster than usual and fidgets. We seem to have a lot of weeks like this, and they really suck. I was thinking I'd ask, since things are so strong with us. What are your thoughts on maybe moving in together? It takes a few seconds to sink in, and leaves you a bit shocked when it does. You were worried she wanted to spend less time with you, not more. Do you want to? You ask. Well, yeah, I do. I mean, we'd have to sort out logistics and everything, but those are all things we can take care of. You start to walk through the steps of imagining the two of you living together. You love the thought of being able to wake up next to her every day and seeing her so often. However, the more you picture it, the more a few concerns become apparent. There are things she's insulated from, like the days you don't feel like you can even get out of bed, the nights your medication keeps you from being able to sleep. All of those moments you're stuck staring at the wall, completely out of energy and feeling nothing. How would you handle that? How quickly would you want to get away? So, she starts, what do you think? Take your relationship to the next level with ease, move in together. Tell her you want to, but have concerns, and discuss them honestly. Tell her you don't think it's a good idea for you right now. Decide to move in regardless of your worries. Okay. Tell her you don't think to go. No, that's we're not doing option 2. Tell her you want to, discuss them honestly. You opened up with that you want to, and then you follow up with discussing it, which is what you were doing anyway, but again, transparency is extremely important right now. Yeah, definitely going over time. Wow, I've been playing this for 2 hours. Christ. You're really worried that if Alex were to live with you, she wouldn't be able to deal with your days of being unable to get out of bed, or nights where you can do nothing but stare at the wall in panic. Even though you've discussed your situation with her, you still fear that she still doesn't realize the depths of how bad it gets. It's one thing for you to detail how you feel sometimes, and for her to see it pop up occasionally. It's an entirely different situation for it to be something just to live with alongside you. Well, I'd like to say, I'd like to, but I think it's best if we talk about it a bit more before committing to a decision. Though she seems a little defeated, you make it clear that you're not making excuses and actually mean that you want to talk. You reiterate a lot of what you've told Alex that night, and although she gets a little defensive and tells you that she knows all that already, she confirms that she's willing to help you sort through your issues. I feel like you forget I love you sometimes. I know that there will be bad days, and I'd rather try to work through them with you. We can figure all of this out together. Her words sway you. You can't help but hold her close to you. You're doing well. You may still have your bad days, but you now have effective ways to deal with them, and you don't get nearly as low as you used to, or for as long. You still visit your therapist, and even she has remarked on how much more alive you seem lately. You're taking your medication regularly, and are pleased at how well it seems to be working. It's December, and you've returned to your parents' house to celebrate the holidays with your family. Out the living room window, you can see a gentle flurry of snow drifting down to meet the pristine blanket of white from yesterday's unexpected Christmas Eve snowfall. And you quietly laugh to yourself at how incredibly cliché it seems. Still, as you sit down to dinner, you can't help but notice how being surrounded by family and this overly kitschy atmosphere your mum's decorations have created have actually made you feel relaxed and almost comfortable. You know, it just realized. A compliment I have about this game is that it's very good at not specifying like very specific things. Like you don't know what job that he's working at. I'm not even 100% sure if we know it's a he. I might be wrong. I think there was like there was something said earlier that it's definitely a he. That's where we're playing as. Then again, just as a human being right at the beginning, which I think they're totally aware of what they're doing. Of course it must be. So they just call you a human being. You don't know what your job is. You don't know what the project is. And it's all just very general, and because of that, you can fit yourself into this so much easier, which I highly respect. This is fantastic writing, and I don't believe this deserves a mixed review. I definitely think at least it deserves a positive review. I absolutely love this. It's depressing, but it's thought-provoking. I think it's worth everyone's time. Anyway, your mom is running around frantically, checking the oven and the stockings, just generally trying to family time it up, while your dad sits at the head of the table, drinking a beer and laughing with your brother Malcolm. His wife Karen is there too, whom you've always got along well with, and your parents even agreed to let you bring your kids along. Oh, I'm sorry. She's been darting it in and out of people's legs and hopping into laps all night. As you thoughtfully munch away at your turkey, listening to the conversations around you, your thoughts drift back over the last few months. You think about how hard things have gotten, replaying over in your head some of your worst, as well as some of your best memories. It seems like all of these things just came to a head over the past few months. With a sudden, hang on. It seems like all of these things just came to a head over the past few months, with a sudden flurry of relationship turmoil and professional anxiety, social stress, and above all, an omnipresent sense of weight that it seems you have just recently become aware of. You're drawn out of your reverie by your dad's familiar booming laugh, as some cheesy comment Malcolm made seems to have hit its mark. Sitting at that table, you're suddenly immensely glad for the chance to be able to ignore everything for an evening, and not have to struggle trying to explain yourself for once. Fortunately, everyone seems to be content with laughing at each other's jokes and discussing favourite sports teams. I did just realise I meant to go into something, I completely forgot about it. Yeah, everything's so general, but the one thing which is specific, which is kind of unintentional, is you know that this is set in America. And it's pretty evident just because of some of the spellings, that's all. It's like the one thing that you can specifically say about the character. Like, I don't know what job they're in. Oh, I don't know what project they're working on. Oh, I don't even know what gender they are. They're American? Oh, crap, I'm gonna stop making jokes. This is not the time. Even when it's getting better. And for a while, you think you'll be able to get through dinner without any embarrassing personal intrusions, but no sooner did the thought cross your mind than the table conversation trickles off, leaving a slightly awkward silence to descend upon the dinner. So how are you doing these days? Your mom asks you, pointedly. Such a simple question, and one that seems to have had to answer countless times recently. You take a moment to collect your thoughts, then, looking up, you take a deep breath. You've never really thought of yourself as a fighter, and even to say it sounds hokey. But looking back on the past few months to where you are now, it really does feel like you've endured an immense struggle. And you look at where you are now with a sense of something that is quite pride. You still hate your job and find it unpleasant, but you're surprised to find that going to work every day is no longer a monumental challenge. You've started adopting some clever techniques, like taking short 2-minute breaks every hour to break up the monotony, and you now view your job as just 8 short hours of your day. A, com- a compartmentalization technique Dr. Melville told you about that you found actually works quite well. You know this job isn't what you want to do for the rest of your life, and you started actively looking for other positions, even attending a couple of preliminary interviews. You've started making efforts to go out with your friends more. While the social scene still makes you very uncomfortable sometimes, you're more and more able to let yourself just enjoy the company of your friends. In fact, your relationship with many of them has increased over the past little while. You still definitely have days where you flake out or don't feel up to hanging out, but for the most part your friends are understanding and appreciate your communication. By far the biggest change you've noticed in your life has been in your relationship with Alex. You were terrified of talking to her about everything at first, but looking back you feel like it's only strengthened your relationship. She was always supportive of you emotionally, but lately the two of you have been even more in sync, and it's really starting to feel like you're building a life together. Building a life together. It even seems like the two of you have been making a more concerted effort to sync up your schedules, and have been spending more and more of your downtime with each other. Pretty soon, you think moving in together may be a very real possibility. Dr. Melville has commented on how well you seem to be doing, and with the result of the therapy, the medication, or both, you can't help but agree. With all that seems to have improved recently, it's sometimes difficult for you to think about the fact that you still have bad days, sometimes even really bad days. They serve as a stark reminder of the fact that this will be something you'll likely have to deal with for the rest of your life. Depression is a battle, and though you're certainly ahead in the fight, you know the battle isn't ever going to be over. Sometimes even Alex can tell when things are going rough, despite your best efforts to the contrary. While you know that your depression can never be cured, you have a very strong support network in your friends and even Malcolm, and armed with a newfound confidence in your friends and family. You accept that though the roads may be rocky, it is at very least not solitary. You meet your mum's gaze from across the table and muster up a smile. "I'm good, Mum," you tell her. She says nothing, but you can feel a smile from across the room. Epilogue. Okay. Wow. Fuck. I apologize for how long this is. Okay. Although I'm absolutely going to upload this, the games I had planned originally are going to be used next Friday. I apologize for this, but yeah, I've been enjoying this one. This has been absolutely fantastic. I'd like to know what these three have, like, qualification-wise, because I wouldn't be surprised they did really well on any of the, like, English or literature or whatever. We really want to thank you for taking the time to play Depression Quest. We realize it may not be the most enjoyable game you've ever played, on the contrary, or even the easiest, and we sincerely appreciate your involvement. Like Depression itself, Depression Quest does not have an end, really. There's no neat resolution to depression, and it was important to us that Depression Quest's own resolution reflect that. Instead of a tidy ending, we want to just provide a series of outlooks to take moving forward. After all, that's all we can really do with depression. just keep moving forward. And at the end of the day, it's our outlook and support from people just like you that makes all the difference in the world. Thanks again. Credits. Writing go against some photography. Oh wait, shit, photography? This is all hers? Oh, sick! I assume her. Sorry. Music, sound. Oh shit. Oh, so okay, so it was a collaborative effort, not just like they all worked together on that. There was like music, the photography, Ave Regina by Greenland. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm actually kind of happy to find out that this isn't copyrighted. I wonder if Guillaume Dufay say anything about that. It's important. Terrence Wiggins was help trail ideas, blanket forts, and depression and Valentine's. This a view of being willing to play games that are meant to be something other than simply fun. That was absolutely fantastic. I am sorry that this didn't end up being what what any of us expected it to be, but I am extremely grateful I went to this entire game. I hope one day the people that made this, Zoe Quinn, Patrick Lindsay, Isaac Shankworth, any of these people find this video and can receive my thanks, because I adored every moment of reading all of this. It was well thought out. I like to think I made all the right decisions, but like they said, it's not necessarily it's supposed to be like multi-ending to my knowledge, but I'm happy with how this came out, and I hope everyone who watched it and will find this enjoys this whole experience as well. I'm absolutely gonna make an edit of this at a later date. I want to make a video dedicated to this. It won't be much except for cleaning it up. I'm gonna call in some favors actually to voice plenty of the characters. Whether they want to be credited or not is up to them. But I highly respect this game. And yeah, again, apologies that I didn't play 5 games on Freeday Friday, but I still feel really good about how this all ended up. Anyway, so to everyone at home, to everyone who's going to watch this in future, have a good evening and look after yourselves. Okay. Good night.